Wait, what?
So
Okay.
are you saying that um, he was able? Oh, I said, are you saying no pun intended on that?
That's what you're
So
saying
what you're
is.
saying is,
Go
No,
on.
hello and welcome back to the Crazy Angels podcast. I'm with Pascal Dennis and David Logan. Hi guys. Today we wanna talk about the song from the upcoming album, and it's so what you're saying is, which is about the brilliant but at the same time controversial Dr. Jordan Peterson.
And so we're choosing a style that perfectly represents that. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? You cannot build a better mousetrap, one of my favorite expressions. And, those guys, man, Willie Dixon, Son House,
yeah.
Robert Johnson, the pioneers of the blues, and then guys like Fat Waller, who, got that loose swing feel going on. And we're using it, but we're making it our own because each person involved in this project, like, me as a drummer slash kind of bass player every now and then, and arranger, of horns and strings and stuff. And then we have Davide Sambrota, piano and organ, and he's a master. And Luca Camarota, I mean, he's incredible. We have Giulio Rossatelli, and this kid basically was born in Mississippi. He says he's from Sardinia. I don't believe it.
There's some transference. There's a Stargate in Sardinia, which leads to Mississippi and back.
I think this is Iggy, Spike, and Lester. I think
Could be our
they probably
interstellar
planted him
help.
there and then took all that info. And again, I've said this many times on the podcast, but I once asked Julio, like, dude, you got the blues in your soul, man. Like, where does that come from? And he's like, I don't know. I just play what I think it's right. Hey, whatever you're doing, just give me more of that,
But I mean, building on your point, David, it shows what happens when there's a free interchange of ideas without fear, without anxiety, and you get Sardinia plus Mississippi equals something unworldly that we've never seen before. And that's the whole point of this song. Right?
And so now, if I may, I just want to tell a little story about one of my idols, Dmitri Shostakovich.
Please.
Oh yeah.
Because it can also go the other way. When you are in fear of your life, as he was, because he was rising in fame in Russia and in what's now St. Petersburg. And by his Fourth Symphony, which is when Stalin consolidated all his power, started rounding up all the intellectuals, like the poets, the artists, the composers, and started lining them up against fence posts and shooting them.
If I could just add here, there's a famous book about that process. Stalin and Beria, his chief of police, and other henchmen, and they were mainly men, basically looked at the phone book of Moscow and St. Petersburg, and they just identified any quote unquote intellectual societies. Oh, it's the society of opera singers, it's the society of engineers, it's the society of composers,
and free
etc.
thinkers.
And anybody, and they were the target. Sorry to interrupt.
And so either they were shot or they went to the gulag, So essentially, by the premiere of his Fourth Symphony was quite avant-garde, almost atonal. Well, there are examples of atonality. And so he was getting national attention, and he got on Stalin's shit list. Okay. And he was interviewed by this police chief and probably was going to be shot. And what happened was the chief's wife went into labor, and they came running to the police station, and she's giving birth right now. And he's like, oh my God, all right, just go. You can go. And he just runs out of the room.
Wow.
And so this is why Shostakovich lived. So for his Fifth Symphony, his life depended on it. So he wrote the great Russian patriotic anthem. Bum 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 ba da ba 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 bum ba da 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 dum rum bum bum bum, and it's like patriotic and Russian, and you could hold up a mug of beer, whatever. It was also masculine and tough and just but proudly Russian. He took all the proud Russian music to that point and just put it in the symphony. And then he became Stalin's favorite composer. So it can go the other way, but the beauty of the fifth is their little jokes. And it's only a very sophisticated person who listens to it who can be like, wait, what?
So
Okay.
are you saying that he was able? Oh, I said, are you saying no pun intended on that?
That's what you're
So
saying.
what you're saying is,
Go on.
No, what I meant was that how did Stalin express these things through music is what I'm saying. Like, how can you practically do that? How can you poke
Well,
these jokes?
because up until that point, so there was this is where you have to go into a little bit of music history, and this is why knowing music history is so important. So there were the five Russian nationalist composers, and that was Rimsky-Korsakov, Borodin, Mussorgsky,
Yep.
Glinka, and I forgot the fourth, and that's okay. It wasn't
not Tchaikovsky.
No, he was not, because he was like the Russian. He was like, more
Okay.
European, and his
Okay.
music was loved, and he was like a B-level ballet composer, right?
Oh, okay.
So the Russian five, no, Tchaikovsky specifically was not on it, and so
Maybe Stravinsky. Maybe. No,
well,
he was a
came
little later
bit
too.
after.
He was
He
later,
came a little
yeah.
after,
I
yeah.
was going to ask you, how did Stravinsky avoid the firing
Okay,
squad
well,
in the Gulag?
okay.
That's another question, right?
So, well, because he was in Paris, right?
Oh, he
was,
skedaddled.
right?
Okay.
Like the Rite of Spring, the premiere
Okay.
was
Very
in Paris, so he was like safe. He's like, I'm getting out of here.
You talk about avant-garde. I mean,
Avant-garde shit, without getting shot on a fence post.
good move.
Thank you very much.
Stravinsky.
Anyway, I forgot the fifth, but these Russian five wanted to distinctly sound different than the European composers of the day. And Tchaikovsky was like basically the master of everything European. He was like sort of almost the pinnacle of the European romantic style.
Yeah,
I mean, just listen to Romeo and Juliet, for goodness sake. I mean, that is one of the most beautiful romantic pieces of music ever written. So anyway, so the five Russian nationalists they're responsible for what's called the octatonic scale, which is basically an 8-note scale, and they said we're going to use the scale to sound different than the 7-note diatonic scale.
It's a
Now, of
whole
course,
tone. It's a whole tone scale, right?
No. It's actually octatonic.
Oh,
A whole tone.
it's
tone
half whole,
is when
half
you-
whole. Ah, sorry. Right.
Exactly.
Half whole.
Precisely.
Got it.
Half
Sorry.
whole half. By the way, for those that are like, what the hell is that guy talking about? So when we talk about a whole half, we're saying that from my starting point, I'm going to go whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, half. And this creates, and you can do also half whole. And here's the crazy part, you can also interchange them. So what happened was Shostakovich also came after the Russian five. The point is that, Stravinsky and Shostakovich sort of extended all those ideas. And then it was actually Schoenberg who finally came along and said, look, fellas, you have your whole half and everything. Can we just agree? Because they would use them interchangeably, and then you get all 12 tones. So Schoenberg's like, can't we just, let's just go with all 12 tones. Let's do that. It's way easier. And then I believe it was Weber or Berg, I can't remember which one, but they consolidated the ideas of Schoenberg into what's called the tone row, which is, this is all music theory shit. Anyway, we're not answering Levi's question. So the point is, it's literally like, I like this, I don't like this, and he was Stalin, and so whatever he said went. And so when he heard the fourth, he's like, that sounds, intellectual, and I don't understand this music, we better shoot that composer. And so because Shostakovich survived that first, and then he became like the most important Russian composer. And in fact, there was a propaganda, Russian propaganda film that shows Stalin. Like you can find it on YouTube.
Hmm.
Stalin with the workers behind him, and the hammer and sickle, and working on the fields, and beautiful. And so Shostakovich wrote this beautiful song with lyrics and patriotic, and that was it. Stalin, it was just like, you're my guy, But he lived a double life.
Hmm.
So privately, he wrote his own private music, and then publicly he had to. So this is the danger of
Hmm.
when your ideas are suppressed. However, it can sort of go the other way, and we see that with Shostakovich. I am really paraphrasing fuzzy history, by the way. So don't, as I'm giving you sort of like uh, little bits of what I remember from Berklee
Hmm.
College of Music, all the music history that I studied. I'm ashamed I forgot the fourth Russian nationalist, but whatever. You guys forgive me, don't you?
We do. Now, this is a segment we call Levi's Corner.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, let's get
Levi,
to it.
you have the baton.
Go ahead.
Any questions, any comments, any insights?
Anything.
You have fresh eyes.
Yes, so it's Levi's corner. Bum, bum,
We're
bum, bum,
burned out,
bum.
all over the place. You have fresh eyes, on the other hand.
So
Go ahead.
I'll
Floor
have
is
to
yours.
ask a question about either, songwriting or production, right? Just anything. So,
Sure.
yeah, my question would be to Pascal. Um, and it always baffles me how specific and detailed your song themes are. So, I would be interested in your creative process on how you come up with like song themes. Like, are you just like, what's your process? Do you write down when you get like an idea in everyday life? Like, how are you gonna decide on like maybe an experience you have that this specific ex this specific experience is gonna be, song theme. Um,
So that's a great question. I'll respond first with a story, a rabbinical story. A friend of mine, Mel Mercure, is a Hasidic scholar. He's a very, very funny guy, a member of my gym. And he's always got a story about Rabbi so and so in Minsk or Pinsk. And anyhow, he told me this story, and I realized that that's how I write songs. So it's a joke, as these stories often are. So they're it's a rabbinical college, and these young students are asking the grand rabbi how he comes up with a parable or a story or a joke to fit every occasion. And the rabbi said, well, it's like I have this bow and arrow, and I shoot the arrow randomly and it hits something. And then I just go up and I draw a bullseye around it. So I always hit the bullseye because I do it in the other.
Fantastic.
I do it in the other upside down sequence. So it's the same with me. So I often start with the title, which David and I often put together, just riffing, making jokes. Like we were laughing about that interview, and David said, so what you're saying is that would be a great title. So that was where the arrow was. So my songwriting process is I went up to where the arrow hit the tree and I just drew a bullseye around it. So I just imagined this scene, and I did a little bit of research. I watched the interviews, and I put myself in the shoes of the interviewer, and the story came out very, very naturally. So that's the most obvious way that I write songs, but there are other ways as well. There is an emotion. My wife saw a street name. We were on vacation, and it said Lime Tree Bay. She thought, "Oh, forever Lime Tree Bay. What
Mm.
a what a thought." And I thought, "Oh, forever Lime Tree Bay. What a beautiful title." So what would that be about? So it's somebody thinking back to a beautiful time, a beautiful relationship, which is now gone. And the lime tree represents the relationship. And for him, forever means that he'll always feel that pain, that loss. So from those few words, an image, a story emerges, and then it's the arrows, and I just got to draw a bullseye around the arrow. Does that
I
make
love that.
sense?
Yeah. Wow. What
If
a
I
great
if I can
response.
just like
Thank you.
if I can just add on a quick point to that,
Please.
I think that especially for young songwriters, young artists, musicians, poets, painters, whatever it is you do that's creative, what Pascal shared with us is brilliant. You know, this idea of just shooting out an arrow and then that's it. That's your target. Draw the bullseye around it and that's it. Because I can speak, you know, professionally as a composer. I write music for video games. It's like if it's a medieval castle, I can't do hard Nordic death metal techno. That's not going to work. So, like, professionally, you get these targets handed to you
Yeah.
with the bullseye around it, and you're told, now make it work. So, and I think that the thing I appreciate the most about Pascal as an artist is that artists produce, they do the work, and they get it done. They don't wait for inspiration. Now, to be clear, there are times, sure, you don't feel as creative as other times. And many great
Yeah.
artists like Picasso stopped painting for 3 years and then came back and he's like, let's do this. But when it is there, you don't wait for inspiration. You you have a conversation and then you just be like, hey, that would be fun. Or like what Pascal said, sometimes it just comes from an emotion. So
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah. And when you have the arrow there and you do the research of, okay, this is an interview. It happened 2018. Here are the two characters. Here's what happened after it. And this is what I believe about free speech and free interchange and developing a shared understanding, different viewpoints. So it should be a funny and light song. Well, what's funny and light? Well, I love the boogie, and I love Fats Waller, and I love all those fantastic boogie woogie artists from the 50s. And I can just hear those popping horn lines and that walking bass, and everything just comes together really intuitively. You know, you tell the story in that context with this genre. That's one of the important, that's one of the things. It's important to know different genres because they give you the texture, the palette, the feeling. So this would not be a bossa nova, obviously. Bossa nova is a totally different feel, a different vibe. But this song is a boogie song. It's meant to say, come on, let's not be so serious. Let's forgive one another. Let's have some fun. Let's spin around the dance floor and, you know, make friends, you know, right?
What a great response. Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate you all. And
Yes, we do.
remember, shared understanding, reach across the aisle, make friends, break bread. Y'all are not that far apart.